I never thought I'd be the kind of person who had to hide documents in a safe deposit box. But there I was on a cold Tuesday morning in March, clutching a manila envelope so tightly my knuckles had gone white, walking into a bank branch I'd driven 40 minutes out of my way to reach. I didn't want anyone from my family to accidentally see me. I didn't want questions. Not yet. The envelope contained copies of my grandmother's will, property deeds, bank statements, and a handwritten letter addressed to me. A letter I'd found tucked inside a cookbook of all places. A cookbook my grandmother had given me 3 weeks before she died, with a sticky note on the cover that said, in her shaky handwriting, "For when you need comfort, sweetheart." I thought she meant the recipes. I was wrong. My grandmother, Dorothy, passed away 6 months ago. She was 83, sharp as a tack until the very end, and the only person in my family who ever made me feel like I mattered. Growing up, I was the middle child. My older brother, Ryan, was the golden boy. Star athlete, charming. Always knew exactly what to say to make our parents beam with pride. My younger sister, Cassie, was the baby, the princess, the one who could do no wrong. And then there was me. Just there. Not bad enough to worry about, not remarkable enough to celebrate. But Grandma Dorothy saw me. Really saw me. She remembered the books I liked, asked about my job, called me every Sunday just to talk. When I got divorced 4 years ago, she was the one who showed up at my apartment with groceries and sat with me while I cried. My mother had said on the phone, "Well, you should have tried harder to make it work." Grandma stayed for 3 days. So when she got sick last year, I was the one who took her to appointments. I rearranged my work schedule, used up my vacation days, sat in waiting rooms, and held her hand during the scary conversations with doctors. Ryan was busy with his sales job, always traveling. Cassie had just had her second baby and said she couldn't manage. My parents visited, sure, but they had their routines, their golf games, their book club. I didn't mind. I wanted to be there. Those months, even though they were hard, were some of the most meaningful of my life. We talked about everything. Her childhood, her marriage to my grandfather, her regrets, her joys. She told me stories I'd never heard before. She taught me how to make her famous apple cake. She told me she was proud of me. 3 weeks before she died, she gave me the cookbook. It was an old Better Homes and Gardens edition. The cover faded and spine cracked. I recognized it immediately. It had lived on her kitchen counter for as long as I could remember. I tried to refuse it. "Grandma, you should keep this. You still use it." She pressed it into my hands, her fingers thin and cool. "I want you to have it now, sweetheart. You'll know when you need it." I thought it was just sentiment. A way for her to feel like she was passing something on. I took it home, put it on my shelf, and cried for an hour. She passed 2 days after going into hospice. Peaceful, they said. I was there. So was the rest of the family, in the end all gathered around like we were some kind of picture-perfect clan. My mother cried dramatically. Ryan kept stepping out to take work calls. Cassie posted a tasteful black and white photo on social media within an hour. I just sat there, numb, holding Grandma's hand until it wasn't warm anymore. The funeral was a blur. People said kind things. There was a reception at my parents' house. I helped set out casserole dishes and listened to distant relatives tell stories about a woman they'd barely known. And then a week later, my mother called and asked me to come over for a family meeting. I should have known something was off right then. We didn't do family meetings. But I went. My parents' living room felt strangely formal that day. My father sat in his usual recliner, my mother on the couch next to Ryan and Cassie. I took the armchair in the corner, the one that always wobbled. My mother folded her hands in her lap, her face arranged in an expression I recognized. The one she used when she was about to say something she'd rehearsed. "We need to talk about your grandmother's estate," she said. I nodded. I figured this was coming. Grandma had owned her house outright. A small 2-bedroom bungalow in a neighborhood that had gotten surprisingly desirable over the years. She had some savings. Nothing extravagant, but she'd been careful. "Your father and I have been going through her paperwork," my mother continued. "And we think the best thing to do is sell the house. The market's good right now. We can split the proceeds fairly and everyone benefits." "Split it how?" I asked. "Well, between the family," my mother said, as if it were obvious. "Your father and I will handle the sale, of course, since we're the executors." Something in my chest tightened. "Grandma named you executor?" Of course, my father said, speaking for the first time. We're her daughter and son-in-law. It's standard. I didn't say anything. I didn't know enough about estates or wills or any of it. It sounded reasonable. But something felt wrong. What about her actual will? I asked. Did she leave instructions? My mother waved a hand. Oh, you know how she was. She kept saying she'd get everything formalized, but she never really did. There's an old will from years ago, but it's outdated. Doesn't reflect her current wishes. How do you know her current wishes? I asked. Ryan sighed, the kind of sigh that said I was being difficult. Come on. She would have wanted things to be fair. Equal. Mom and Dad are just making sure it's handled right. Cassie nodded. It makes sense. We all loved Grandma. This way nobody has to fight. I looked around the room. They all seemed so sure. So unified. And I was, once again, the outsider asking inconvenient questions. I just think we should see the will, I said quietly. Whatever it says. Before we make decisions. My mother's smile tightened. Of course, honey. But like I said, it's very old. We're just trying to be practical. The conversation moved on. They talked about real estate agents, timelines, repairs the house might need. I stopped listening. I felt like I was underwater. I left as soon as I could. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about my grandmother, about those last conversations, about the way she'd looked at me when she gave me the cookbook. You'll know when you need it. At 2 a.m, I got out of bed, went to my kitchen, and pulled the cookbook off the shelf. I flipped through it slowly. Recipes for pot roast, lemon bars, tuna casserole. Pages stained and marked, little notes in her handwriting. Add more vanilla. Double the garlic. And then, tucked between a recipe for beef stew and one for cornbread, I found the envelope. It was cream-colored, slightly yellowed, and it had my name written on the front in her careful script. My hand shook as I opened it. Inside was a letter, written on her familiar stationery, and a folded photocopy of a legal document. The letter read, My dearest girl, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And I'm guessing your mother has already started making plans. I know my daughter. I love her, but I know her. I need you to understand something. 5 years ago, I had a proper will drawn up by a lawyer. A real one, legal and notarized and filed. In that will, I left my house to you. Not to be sold and split up. To you. Because you are the one who loves it. You're the one who spent summers helping me in the garden. You're the one who always said you loved the window seat in the living room. I know you'll take care of it. Maybe you'll live in it. Maybe you'll keep it for your future. But it's yours. I also left some savings to be divided between your brother and sister. It's fair. It's enough. And I left a small amount to your parents, but nothing else, because they've never needed my help and they never asked for it until these last few years. And when they did ask, it wasn't really about me. I've left a copy of the will with my lawyer, Martin Greaves. His information is at the bottom of this letter. But I know your mother. She might try to use an old version, one from before you were born, when I'd left everything to her by default. That old will is outdated and invalid, but she might pretend it's the current one. That's why I'm telling you now. Don't let them bully you. Don't let them make you feel like you're being selfish. You are not. You loved me when it wasn't convenient. You were there. This is not a prize for good behavior. It's my choice, made with a clear mind, and it's what I want. Call Martin. He'll help you. I love you, sweetheart. Be strong. Grandma. I read the letter 4 times. Then I unfolded the photocopy. It was her will. Dated 5 years ago. Signed, witnessed, notarized. Clear as day. The house, along with all its contents and the property it sat on, left to me. A monetary amount, about $60,000, to be split between Ryan and Cassie. $10,000 to my parents. And a few small bequests to charities. I sat at my kitchen table until the sun came up, staring at those pages. My mother had lied. She'd said there was only an old, outdated will. But this will was recent. Legal. Filed. She had to know about it. Or at the very least, she'd chosen not to look for it. I felt sick. And then I felt angry. I called the lawyer, Martin Greaves, first thing Monday morning. He was kind, patient, and unsurprised to hear from me. Your grandmother told me you might call, he said. She was very clear about her wishes. I have the original will here in my office. It's filed with the county as well. Completely valid. My mother said she and my father are the executors, I said. No, Martin said gently. You are. Your grandmother named you as executor 3 years ago and updated the documents accordingly. I sent copies to her home address, and I have confirmation she received them. My head spun. Why would my mother say they're the executors? There was a pause. I can't speculate on that. But I can tell you that unless she has the updated will, she may be operating off an old version. Or she may be choosing to. What do? I asked. You assert your legal rights. I can help you. We'll need to file the will with probate court, notify all parties and begin the process. If your parents or siblings contest it, we'll handle that. But your grandmother was of sound mind. The will is ironclad, and you have every right to execute her wishes. I hired him that day. The next week I filed the will with probate. Martin sent formal notifications to my parents, Ryan and Cassie. I didn't call them myself. I wasn't ready for that fight. My mother called me 6 hours after she received the notification. What the hell do you think you're doing? She said. No hello. No preamble. I'm following Grandma's will, I said. My voice was steadier than I felt. That house is family property. You have no right to just claim it. Grandma left it to me. In her will. Legal and notarized. I'm not claiming anything. I'm accepting what she wanted me to have. This is unbelievable. After everything we did for her. I almost laughed. What did you do for her, Mom? We visited. We cared. We were her family. I took her to every doctor's appointment for a year, I said. I picked up her prescriptions. I sat with her when she was scared. Where were you? Don't you dare make this about who loved her more. You're being selfish and cruel. She would have wanted us to share. She wrote down what she wanted. I have it in writing. From her. That's not me being selfish. That's me honoring her wishes. My mother hung up. Ryan called an hour later. He was calmer, but I could hear the frustration. Look, I don't want to fight, he said. But this isn't fair. That house is worth, what, $300,000? Maybe more? And you're just taking it. Grandma left you and Cassie $60,000, I said. That's not nothing. It's not the same. It's what she wanted. She was old. She probably didn't realize what she was doing. She was sharp until the end, and you know it. He sighed. This is going to tear the family apart. It already is, I said quietly. But I didn't start it. Cassie sent me a long text message. It was mostly about how hurt she was, how she couldn't believe I'd do this, how Grandma would be so disappointed in me for causing drama. She said I was being greedy. She said I should think about her kids, about their future. I didn't respond. The next few weeks were brutal. My parents stopped speaking to me. Ryan sent occasional messages that were thinly veiled guilt trips. Cassie posted vague things on social media about family betrayal and greed. I blocked her. But I kept going. Martin walked me through probate. We had to inventory Grandma's assets, pay off any small debts, and process the estate. It was tedious and exhausting and emotional. Every time I walked into her house, I cried. It still smelled like her lavender soap. And then I found more. I was going through her filing cabinet, organizing papers for the estate, when I found a folder labeled Property Records. Inside were documents going back years. Deeds. Tax records. And a series of letters. The letters were from my mother to my grandmother, dated over the past 3 years. I shouldn't have read them, but I did. The first one was polite, chatty, asking how Grandma was feeling, talking about the weather. And then, in the last paragraph, I was talking to a real estate agent friend and she mentioned how much the neighborhood has grown. Your house must be worth quite a bit now. Have you ever thought about selling? You could move into a nice assisted living place, really enjoy your final years. We'd be happy to help you with the process. The next letter 6 months later was more direct. I know you're attached to the house, but it's a lot of upkeep for someone your age. What if you fell? What if something happened? It would give us all peace of mind if you consider downsizing. We could help you find a buyer. And another a year after that. I've talked to a lawyer friend about estate planning. It's really important to make sure everything is set up so the family doesn't have to fight after you're gone. You should think about putting the house in a trust, or maybe signing it over now to avoid taxes. We can meet with someone together." I felt cold reading them. My grandmother had never mentioned these letters. But now I understood the timeline. 5 years ago, she'd made the will leaving the house to me. 3 years ago, my mother had started pressuring her about it. And Grandma had quietly, without drama, made sure I'd be protected. There was one more document in the folder. A handwritten note, not in an envelope, just folded. It was dated 2 months before Grandma died. "Spoke to Linda today." Linda was my mother. She asked again about the house. Suggested I sign a quitclaim deed to make things easier later. I said I'd think about it. I won't. But I don't have the energy to fight. I'm too tired. I just want peace. I hope I'm doing the right thing, leaving it all to my sweet girl. Think I am. She loves the house for what it is, not what it's worth. I sat on the floor of Grandma's office and cried so hard I thought I'd be sick. My mother hadn't just lied about the will. She'd been trying to get the house away from Grandma for years. And Grandma had known. And she'd protected me anyway. I made copies of everything. I didn't know if I'd need them, but I wanted them. Just in case. Probate moved forward. My parents tried to contest the will. They hired a lawyer, claimed Grandma had been unduly influenced, that I'd manipulated her. It was ugly. But Martin was ready. We had the medical records showing Grandma's sound mind. We had the timeline of the will, made years before her decline. We had witness statements from her doctor, her neighbors, people who'd seen how sharp she was. And then, in a meeting with both lawyers present, I brought out the letters. I didn't want to. It felt like a betrayal airing this kind of private family mess. But my mother's lawyer was pushing hard, and I was tired. I slid copies across the table. "These are letters from my mother to my grandmother," I said quietly, pressuring her to sell the house, asking her to sign it over. For years. My mother's face went white. Her lawyer read them. His expression shifted. "These were sent while your client was fully healthy?" he asked my mother. She didn't answer. "It establishes a pattern of pressure," Martin said calmly. "It also establishes motive for why Mrs. Dorothy made the decision she did in her will. She clearly wanted to ensure the house went to someone who valued it, not someone who saw it as a financial asset." The lawyer had a whispered conversation with my parents. Then he stood. "We'll be withdrawing the contest," he said. Just like that, it was over. The will was validated. The house became mine. The monetary bequests were distributed. Ryan and Cassie got their share. My parents got theirs. And I got the little bungalow with the window seat and the garden. My mother sent me one final email. It was short. "I hope you're happy. You've destroyed this family over a house. Your grandmother would be ashamed." I deleted it. But later that night, I wrote a response I never sent. I just needed to get it out. Grandma wouldn't be ashamed. She'd be proud. Because I'm doing exactly what she asked me to do. I'm honoring her wishes. I'm taking care of the place she loved. And I'm not letting you bully me into giving it up just because it's inconvenient for you that she loved me enough to trust me with it. You saw the house as money. I see it as home. That's the difference. That's why she chose me. I moved into the house 4 months after Grandma's death. It needed some work. A new roof. Fresh paint. The garden was overgrown. But I didn't mind. I took my time. I fixed things carefully. I planted the same flowers Grandma used to grow. I put my books on her shelves. I cooked from the recipes in the old cookbook. I hosted a small dinner party last month. Just a few friends. People who'd supported me through everything. We ate Grandma's apple cake and I told them stories about her, and it felt like she was there smiling in the corner. Ryan reached out a few weeks ago. Just a text. "Hey, I'm sorry for how things went. I was frustrated, but I shouldn't have said some of the things I said. I hope you're doing okay." I wrote back. "Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm doing well. We're not close. Maybe we never will be. But it was something. Cassie hasn't spoken to me. I don't expect her to. My parents haven't contacted me at all. And honestly, I'm okay with that. I used to think family meant showing up no matter what. Forgiving everything. Accepting bad behavior because that's just how they are. But I've learned something in these past months. Family is also about respect. It's about seeing people for who they are. It's about honoring the people who loved you, even after they're gone. Grandma saw me. She knew I'd fight for what was right, even when it was hard. She trusted me, and I'm not going to let her down. I'm sitting in the window seat right now, the one I always loved. The afternoon light is coming through the old lace curtains. There's a cup of tea on the side table made just the way Grandma used to make it. The house is quiet and warm in mine, and I finally feel like I'm home.